curious now. I was just throwing that out. I wasn't saying like that was right. I wasn't thinking that was right, but I have no idea.
Well,
Just you got to tell the story.
The story is this. My son found a pair of antlers yesterday, and we ended up giving them away, and we were researching about antlers. We were learning a lot, and one of the questions was, what are antlers made out of? I was like, cartilage?
Bone,
and it turns out the answer is bone. Bru's answer,
it was a toss out, just, hey, wood. I mean,
But
that's
how
as
would that
good as
work?
anything. I don't know.
wood
It'd be
comes
different.
from trees.
It'd be difficult. But I did get the bone marrow.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got
bone,
yeah.
whatever.
You know what? It was just, if it was baseball, strike one and then get it out of the park.
Right.
All right, we're starting with the Patriots one win away from their 12th Super Bowl appearance. Standing in their way, Sean Payton and Jarrett Stidham, who hasn't thrown a pass in 2 years. Love it. Nick, who do you have and why? There you go, say it. Say it with your chest, too, when you say it. Loudly. Do the 10 toes. Do the toes thing that Brew does.
I'm not going to infringe on Bru's area, but I will say it loudly. I've got the Broncos.
Get out of town!
What?
That is not true.
Are you
It is
serious?
true.
That is not true.
I can't believe it either.
Well, he is 2-7.
No, I'm not 2-7. And first of all, it's against
What
the
is-
spread versus winners. It's 3-7 against the spread. I picked more winners. That's not the point.
Really, the Broncos? Wow.
Here's when we were here Monday, I did not think that I would be picking the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
My reasoning is as follows. Of all the teams that are still playing that could have gotten the news Sunday night, quarterback out, this is the team that it is the least devastating for. Now, that's not necessarily a reason they're going to win, but that is, I think, objectively true.
Sure.
This is the team most equipped to deal with it. Of all the coaches who could have been told, you're going to have to play a backup quarterback in a big spot, maybe in the whole league, certainly right now, left in the playoffs, Sean Payton is the one most prepared for it, with the possible exception of our pal Kyle Shanahan, who did it this year. But Sean Payton, when he had Hall of Famer Drew Brees near the end, when he had to go to a backup quarterback, he, in small doses, we can show it to you, was able to get more than competent play out of those backup quarterbacks. Now, it wasn't, Drew Brees level, but the yards and completion percentage were Drew Brees level. The record was better. I don't buy too much into that.
No, they were hot that year. That was when Teddy was on that win streak.
That's over 2 years.
Yeah.
But then the following year, when Sean Payton had to start a long-term backup, some guy that some people thought could be the dark horse MVP.
He was cooked.
Again,
Yeah. Look at those numbers.
he got not a lot of yards, but the touchdown-interception ratio is good. The rating's good. He got competent play out of it. The home field advantage portion of what that is going to do to supplement the Broncos' pass rush and disrupt the Patriots' operation, combined with the fact, and this is where I think Wilds and I just fundamentally disagree, I don't like how Drake Maye has played this postseason. Loved how he played the regular season. You heard no criticism of Drake Maye from me through the regular season because there wasn't any reason for him.
I think that is very fair.
All of that is why I think in a tightly contested, low-scoring, very tough game, the Broncos crowd and the Broncos defense carries them to a 17-13, 17-14 type of victory. So that is what I am picking.
Well, look, I've said all week, I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think it's going to be easy. A lot of people think that because it's a backup quarterback. But I am going with your Patriots.
Thank you, bro. My goodness.
All right, because here's the thing, Nick, and I know everybody loves Jarrett. Like he's all this now, right? But the chances of him like you said it in the intro, he has not thrown an NFL pass in 2 years. All right, 2 seasons. And so it would be completely understandable if he goes out there and is flustered, is nervous, is rusty. I mean, rusty, That's almost a given, right? And so I think that is very much on the board. I also look at New England's defense, which in these first 2 games has had 9 sacks. So they've been they averaged 2 sacks a game, one of the worst pass rushes in the league in the regular season against not the great schedule, as we know. And then in the playoffs, they've gotten, 9 sacks. And so I think that they're going to be able to get some pressure on him, and that could just rattle him even more. And then the Denver defense, I thought you had a great point yesterday when you talked about their defense giving up some points to good quarterbacks. Not their last 4, because at the end, teams weren't playing their starters.
The Chiefs and
but
the
they
Trey
recently
Lance
had a 4-game stretch within the last 6 games. Washington with Marcus Mariota, the Raiders with Geno, Green Bay, and then Jacksonville. They gave up 25.7 points a game.
That's right.
So like I said, I see a close game being very possible. But I just think it's a lot to ask of Jarrett Stidham to go in there. We hadn't really played since, 2023? And really have a great game on this stage against a good defense. And so I'm going with New England in this one.
As you know, and longtime fans of the show have this memorized, I hate, and I mean that with all the vitriol that it holds, 3 things in this world.
Yep. Can I say the first 2?
Sure.
Injustice.
Injustice number 1.
That's good.
The French art of pantomime.
Why are you in a glass box?
Exactly. And then what's the third one?
Half measures.
That's right.
Oh.
And I didn't know, I had this idea in my mind, I didn't know that you would be the target of my ire. Because this right now is what you would call a free roll take.
No, it's the opposite. Picking the Patriots would be the free roll take. If the Patriots win, I get to say I picked it, and if they lose, I get to make fun of you. This is the opposite of a free roll take, for the record.
Once
I am putting myself out there.
Destroy. And I mean rout the Broncos.
Wow.
People who picked the Broncos, just like the people who picked the Chargers to beat the Patriots. And then all of a sudden, what do you expect from that offensive line? A lot of people picked the Chargers. They scored 3 points. And there was nothing happened in the game to that offensive line that changed. People were still bad. People that picked the Texans, including entire shows that picked the Texans. C.J. Stroud, what are you going to do? Now, granted, the Texans were on a 10-game winning streak going into that game and had beaten the Jags, the Bills, the Chiefs, who I give credit to, the Steelers. Herbert got 1 field goal. Now, the same thing is going to happen on Monday, where it's like, you know what? Jarrett Stidham, turns out a guy who is not a starting quarterback and who hasn't thrown a pass in 2 years, and turns out he's not playing super carefree. He feels the weight of having an entire team that was the number 1 seed and playing a great defense that has given up 4 field goals and 1 touchdown over 2 games. Finally, I think there is a fair point about how our Drake has performed against these last 2 defenses and our cupcake schedule. But this is how we have played against the top. I'm not on the team, by the way, so I used to be. But Patriots against top 5 defenses this season. We're 3-0. The average score is 25-11. Yards are 350, and we are going to throw that thing with 16 explosive plays. Also, that counts runs. So I do not think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be a rout. And I think we're all going to be like, oh, of course it was a rout. They've been routing teams all year.
Can I say something? Because you keep bringing up the fact that NFL Live, everybody picked the Texans.
I didn't know what show it was. I just saw.
And that Brew, I guess, picked the Chargers.
And
that wasn't necessarily a Brew.
Hold on. I would understand your frustration if that was happening, and then after that, people were wantonly disrespecting the Patriots. I think I have not seen anyone with a real platform saying the Patriots are frauds. I haven't seen it. I see before the playoffs, people point out that their path to the 2 seed was the softest schedule in, a quarter century in the league? Absolutely.
I think that's
questioning whether or not they were going to, that if they played the Bills, were they actually better than the Bills? I think those things, not only they exist, I participated in all of it. But I have not seen people picking the Pats to lose, the Pats win, and then people being like, that team's fraudulent. And I, right now, this moment, am not picking the Broncos because I think the Patriots are fraudulent. I am picking the Broncos because I have been beaten damn near into submission by the Broncos' ability to find ways to win games and how good they've been at home. So I want to make it very clear, I do not think Jarrett Stidham is as good as Bo Nix. Certainly not as good as Bo Nix was playing at the end of the year and in the playoff game. But I think he might be as good as rookie Bo Nix, who went 6-2 in this stadium at home with Sean Payton. I think he's probably better than Taysom Hill, who won the majority of his starts and threw for like 200-plus yards a game with Sean Payton as his coach. So you are correct that Jarrett Stidham has the C.J. Stroud game. I feel like an idiot. And then on Monday, it's like, his backup quarterback had 3 turnovers. What do you want me to do?
I'm not saying you would do that, but that comes around.
That could happen. But the other reason that I, over the course of the week, evolved from thinking the Pats would win a close one to the Broncos win a close one is, I just asked myself, do I think Jarrett Stidham needs to have, what do I think the final score is if Jarrett Stidham's stat line is 180 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no turnovers? If that's the final score, if that's his stat line, I think the Broncos win. Because I don't think that Drake May's going to play a clean game. I think, and I took more about his quote than you guys did. His quote saying, "You guys know me, I'm going to hunt big plays." I think that was a little young player hubris, given the circumstances and given the nature of a road
that's
playoff
how he plays too, though.
Right, but
I don't blame him for saying that.
And so I just want to make it clear. This isn't me saying the Pats are fraudulent. This is me saying.
It feels a little like that, though, because, you are literally picking a backup quarterback who hasn't thrown a pass in 2 years to win
I'm picking the number 1 seed in their building.
Yeah, but without their starting quarterback.
That is correct. But if anything, it's actually disrespectful to Bo Nix. Because I don't think the injury maybe is as devastating as everybody else.
There is, I'll give you some credit, but you didn't mention it. Because I'm big when the Nuggets.
Well, the altitude thing.
The altitude thing. I'm big on the altitude.
I'm
less big on the crowd noise. We won every game on the road. But the altitude.
I think Seattle, Denver, Kansas City are the 3 hardest places to play in this league. This is one of them. So that's
easy W. On to the NFC. Rams in Seattle Sunday at 6. This one is on Fox. 3rd matchup. And these teams have been even. All right, Brew, same question. Who you got and why?
Well, let me preface this by saying, and this will give away my pick, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong in this one because I would love to see the top 2 MVP candidates facing off in the Super Bowl. And it's happened 4 times before, so it's not incredibly unique. But it feels like this race was so close. A week before the end of the season, it felt like Drake May, he was the odds-on favorite, right? He was going to win it, and then Stafford took it away again, we think. So I'd love to see the Stafford-Drake May Super Bowl, all right? But I think Seattle's going to win the game. And, Nick, I think they're the better overall team. Now, if you just go down the roster, you can find ways to say, well, the Rams are better. Look at these guys, right? But when I look at those 2 games, and I see that Seattle lost the turnover battle 7-1.
Yep.
And there was 1 point difference between the two teams in the two games. Seattle lost the first game by 2 points with their quarterback throwing 4 interceptions, and then won the second game by a point. Still, the quarterback threw 2 interceptions. They lost the turnover battle 3-0, and they still won. So I think Sam Darnold's going to play a clean, maybe not a totally clean game, but I don't think he'll have multiple interceptions. I think he may have 1 interception, 1 turnover, whatever, but I think he'll be relatively clean. And then I think because of that, they'll be able to win this game. And that Rams defense, Nick, I know it was strong early in the season. Lately, last 6 weeks, they've given up 31 to Carolina twice. All right? Detroit put 34 on them. Seattle, 38. Atlanta, 27. And these were games they were trying to win. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I don't think Stafford's been great in the playoffs. Now, he might be great in this game. And he was great in the second game against the Seattle, and they still lost. But in the playoffs, he's got 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in 2 games, and a completion percentage of just 52%. I know he threw for like 300 yards against Carolina, but overall—
And all his touchdowns and interceptions came against Carolina.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
The Bears game, he had 240 yards, but completed 48%
touchdown,
of his passes.
right.
Yeah.
So I just think that he hasn't been himself in these playoffs against worse defenses than he's about to face. And I just think Seattle has shown in those 2 games they're the better overall team.
Mm-hmm. These 2 teams played twice. In the first meeting, the Rams led after the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. In the second meeting, the Rams led after the first quarter, the second quarter, third quarter, and then there was a punt return, and things got haywire on them, and they lost, and Seattle had a miraculous comeback, and I think it's fair to call it miraculous because of the 2-point conversion play involved.
Yep.
And then the Rams gathered themselves and scored a touchdown in overtime and lost the game anyway. The Rams this year, and that game, in my opinion, that Seattle loss, the knock-on effect was the following week against Atlanta. And other than that, their losses this year are a blocked field goal to Philly, overtime to the Niners, by 3, and the Carolina game. I feel like the Rams have been the best team in the NFL all year. I look at Stafford's playoffs this year differently than you, Brew. I thought he had a bad pass against Carolina, but I thought he was really good in that game, and I thought the Rams as a whole were very mediocre offensively, him included, in the Bears game. But I don't look at it as like a bad playoffs as much as a bad game against the Bears they got away with.
He just hadn't been
and
MVP level.
Stafford, but for the totality of his time in the playoffs with the Rams, has been an all-time great. As far as if you were to say, and if we show his playoff numbers since he got to the Rams, the only quarterback who's been consistently better than Matt Stafford in the playoffs this decade is Patrick Mahomes. Also the only quarterback with more Super Bowl wins than him this decade, Patrick Mahomes. And I trust him and I trust McVay.
It's just one.
What?
Super Bowl wins.
What do you mean?
First, I'm just saying Stafford's got one.
Yeah, but I understand. My point was, he has been, aside from Mahomes, nobody's been a surer bet over the last 5 years in the playoffs than Stafford. And McVay with a third time up against this Seahawks. This Seahawks defense has been so great all year. The second time McVay saw it, Stafford threw for 450.
Yeah, that's.
And so I do believe the winner of this game is going to win the Super Bowl, but I believe the Rams are the better team.
I wonder, when Coach is going to come out in about 15 minutes, I'm going to ask him, does the 450 yards benefit McVay? Or does it benefit the defense? Remember what we were doing when Stafford threw for 450? We cannot do that.
That's a good question.
Or does McVay need to have a whole nother chapter? More on this game in about 12 minutes. Seahawks defense wins championships. Latest, but we're going to talk about basketball when I have the next time. Lakers lost to the Clippers, 3-6 in their last 9. Latest loss on the heels of a Baxter Holmes article which outlined some Buss family dysfunction and a deteriorating relationship between LeBron and the front office. Your reaction to that?
Well, great piece by Baxter Holmes, and the piece is not about LeBron. The piece is about the Buss family, and everyone should read it. It's a lot of work he put into it. But the section on Jeannie and LeBron starts with this, and this is where I just want to focus for a moment. She didn't like that James was considered a savior for a floundering franchise when he arrived in 2018, and that it was he who chose the Lakers rather than the team's leadership receiving praise for landing him. So I just want to address that very quickly.
Tough one.
Because it's a little complicated. Yeah. The reason LeBron James, I think she's right, considered himself a savior for a floundering franchise.
Or he was considered a savior.
Or that he was considered a savior for a floundering franchise is because the Lakers were a floundering franchise and he was their savior.
He saved them. Yeah, that checks out.
In the history of the Lakers before LeBron got there, they had missed the playoffs 10 times ever. Once in the 50s, twice in the 70s, once in the 90s, once in the aughts. And the 5 years leading up to LeBron getting there, when they, out in a 30-team league, had the 30th most wins.
Tough.
They were the worst team in the league for 5 years. LeBron got there, helped get them Anthony Davis, and they won a championship. So, and I understand they're still mad about Russell Westbrook. Whatever.
Let it go.
If I were LeBron and I found out that's how they feel about me, I'd be furious. And I think, does LeBron have a big ego? I've heard that. You know what? I think that's probably true. See a lot to deal with? Yeah. But does anyone deserve to feel like this franchise was on the brink and I got him back? And do I think it's because he wanted to live in L.A. or because of an awesome PowerPoint by Rob Pelinka? I think it's because he wanted to live in L.A. So I just don't understand the bitterness there, Brew. And it's a weird thing to come out.
Look, I believe LeBron and Jeannie Buss have had a solid relationship. Mm-hmm. I also believe that they could have a solid and good relationship. I believe LeBron when he says, I thought it was good. And I believe they could have that relationship and still it be true that she's in the office, said to somebody, oh, now we putting the Westbrook thing on us, or, something like that, or, we drafted Bronny for him. He should be great, stuff like that. You can call it two-faced, whatever, but that happens. People say things behind people's back, and they still may have a good relationship with that person. So I kind of think it's like that. I don't think Jeannie, I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think she dislikes LeBron or think, all that, while I do believe the stuff that's in the article. But I agree with you, Nick. Look, the bottom line is Jeannie Buss and the Lakers and the Buss family should be grateful that LeBron decided, I want to go to the Lakers. Because you are right. If LeBron, now we don't know who they would have drafted, whatever would have happened, but there's no evidence from, as you said, the 5 previous years before LeBron went there. There's no evidence since Jerry Buss, their dad, passed away in 2013 that they would have figured it out.
Correct.
LeBron just chose to go to L.A. because it's a great franchise and L.A.'s a great city. And then he got you Anthony Davis. And if you didn't have Anthony Davis, you wouldn't have Luka.
Right.
All right? So he did save the franchise. He got them one championship. All right? And I'm going to say, if LeBron had not decided to go to the Lakers, the Buss children, let's say they still sold after 12 years, would go down as abject failures as far as the owner. The dad, Showtime, Kobe and Shaq, Kobe and Powell, all those championships. And since then, outside of LeBron, nothing.
Yeah.
All right, so they are lucky. You look at Jeannie and the Buss kids, but particularly Jeannie, as she got him a championship. She did a good job. Right. And if he wasn't there, you wouldn't be looking at it like that.
Welcome back. It's conference championship weekend, and after a long campaign of pain and strain, only 4 teams remain. What heights can they attain? What reputations can they maintain? Here to explain who has the most to gain is Nick Wright in a segment we call Most to Gain.
Thank you so much, KW. Let's get right to it. Number 8, most to gain championship weekend.
Wow,
Okay,
huge
W.
W for me. Thank you.
Listen.
I gave Brew a high five.
This guy
smoothly.
broke out the doorstep of destiny, which, unlike deer antlers, is made of wood.
Correct.
In week 5,
Was it
for
week
a
5?
3-2
Wow.
team
Wow.
that had lost to at the time, maybe frisky Raiders team, had turned the ball over 5 times to the Steelers. KW saw it. If this team makes the damn Super Bowl, he's the biggest winner.
We're on the doorstep of destiny.
Number 7,
Wow.
Clint Kubiak.
Interesting.
If the Seahawks win this game and the offense looks good, is that enough to get him the best opening maybe in decades in the NFL? Head coach of the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And I think, I saw today the Bills, they're interviewing Phillip Rivers.
Well, I thought that was a.
It feels to me like they might be, bringing a lot of people in with their eyes on someone who's coaching this weekend.
I just thought it was another one of their well thought out plans.
Yeah, it might be that.
Great take.
It might be that as
Call
well,
Phillip
Coach.
Rivers.
But
What?
Clint Kubiak, Jesse Minter
Yep.
was the young defensive mind of the cycle. Clint Kubiak seems to be the young offensive mind of the cycle. Minter got the other gym job in Baltimore. I wonder, and if it's
I like that take.
if it's not Buffalo, there's still other openings. Number 6, Devontae. I know that we know this, but it still is surprising. He's never played in a Super Bowl. It feels like he was in green, like, oh yeah, Devontae was there when
Yes.
he went to, but no, he wasn't. That was Greg Jennings, gosh darn it, making all those catches. Devontae learned from Greg Jennings how to do it. I don't know if
Good
that's
job, Greg.
but Devontae's an all-time great player. I don't think that's an overstatement. And he has not played not only in a Super Bowl, but in a bunch of conference championship games. And so this is an opportunity for him to play in his first Super Bowl. Number 5, pardon me. Listen, man. The reason they call me Mr. Consistency is even when I have to wear it and and be like, I was wrong, I do it. Sean Payton did a whole bunch of talking before the year. And I said it was a whole bunch of nonsense. I even made fun of colleagues of ours that are friends with him. I was like, I know he's good to have a beer, but you don't have to listen to him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're a game from the Super Bowl. So, and I'm picking them to go to it, and even though they have a backup quarterback, and it's because I think he's going to be coaching. He's that well coached. No coach ever has won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. You got Danny Parkins in the overtime saying, if the Broncos pull this off, Sean Payton moves past Parcells and Walsh on the all-time coaching list. Now, that's too far for me, but you win a Super Bowl, the second franchise, the backup quarterback, it's something. Sean Payton, number 5. Now to the quarterbacks. Number 4, Matt Stafford. They make this Super Bowl. You look at quarterbacks the last quarter century, he's Stafford versus guys like Big Ben, or a guy like Big Ben starts to become a really interesting conversation. We talked going at the midway point of the season, I think he was an underdog to make the Hall of Fame. He might, in a week and a half, win the MVP. That plus Super Bowl appearance, he becomes almost a lock to make the Hall of Fame. Number 3, Drake May. Making the Super Bowl, I think, will cement him with the best young quarterback crown. And he might have an opportunity to just say, why don't we take young out of that phrase?
Yeah.
Why am I just not the best quarterback? He'd have an opportunity.
On the board.
It would be on the board. And we haven't seen someone in year 2. We've seen him make the Super Bowl. I haven't seen him win the Super Bowl since Russell Wilson did it his second year as a starter. Number 2, Sam Darnold. Would not be willing to call him elite yet. Would be willing to call him a franchise quarterback. Which I think those are the steps you take from. He went from bust to journeyman to solid starter. Franchise QB is the next stop on that train. And number 1, most to gain is Jared
Stidham.
Nick Foles got 4 years, $88 million from the Jacksonville Jaguars and a statue in front of the stadium for a playoff run.
Amazing.
I understand he has a year left on his deal. So did Foles, for whatever it's worth. it is not an exaggeration to say if he plays awesome this weekend and they make the Super Bowl, almost no matter what happens in the Super Bowl, this can be a what would it be, 8-figure game for him. 30, 40, 50 million dollars. Not for 1 year, but on a future contract. I think that's in line. That's the most to gain. I put the guy at number 1, the guy who has the most money involved, because I know that appeals to coaches' heart.
Yeah, this is a really good list, and you know, in retrospect, I should have probably put Mike Vrabel on the list. There's a guy who's going to have one of the greatest turnarounds in franchise history, erase the ghost of one of the greatest coaches of all time, and potentially coach his team to the Super Bowl that he won Super Bowls with. So he could have been on that list. Now I feel, I went a little bit lighter. I went with DeMarcus Lawrence, and here's why. It's not quite Devontae Adams. Devontae, though, has at least gone to 5 conference championships, where DeMarcus Lawrence, this is his 12th season. He had 11 in Dallas. He had a couple really big years in Dallas. He got hurt last year. He signs a contract in Seattle, goes to Seattle, and he's part of a fairly young team. They're the 11th youngest team in the league. And when you hear the guys talk about the impact that he has 6 sacks, but that group collectively, it's like 7 sacks, 7 sacks, 7 sacks. DeMarcus has a 6. Collectively, they're productive together, and they credit him for a lot of that. And they also credit him for the fact that he's given them perspective. All those years in Dallas has given him great perspective about how big this moment is, how much you should appreciate it, you should just focus on the task at hand. And this is his first opportunity to play in this game, and then it would be amazing for him to have the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl.
That's
Love
good.
it, Coach. And I think his addition's been underrated since he got to Seattle. And he was always a really good player in Dallas, but we somehow, it wasn't discussed all that much, particularly after Micah. And your point on that whole D-line collective, nobody in double digits, but they all, it's hard to double team any of them because all of them are so good.
I agree with you on Vrabel. I actually would switch Vrabel in for Kubiak. Although I agree with what you said about Kubiak, that's all out there. But Vrabel, this would be huge. I mean, 1-3 as a player with the Patriots, and now to bring them back to the championship.
Maybe I should just put Vrabel on in place of KW.
Yeah, that's
Leave
fine.
Kubiak.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit more to
2
gain.
peas in a pod.
I mean, it's this much. But
We'll see.
But I'm going to switch Darnold and Stidham.
Oh.
I think Darnold, I agree. Look, obviously, Stidham has a ton to gain from this, but he's still likely to be the backup next year because he does have a year left, unless they want to trade him, somebody really wants him. But even if he wins the Super Bowl, he enters as the backup next year. Yeah. And I agree, in the future, maybe a bigger contract, maybe a chance to start. But Darnold, I mean, when we think about where he was just 2 years ago, I mean, he's backing up Brock Purdy. Then before that, he was backing up Baker Mayfield. And now he could not only win the Super Bowl, get to the Super Bowl, I'll stay where we are right now, get to the Super Bowl, but you were toying with the idea that he's elite. And so his whole, we talked about Rich Gannon, I kind of compared him to him. Gannon never really, even though he won MVP, got to a Super Bowl, was never really considered elite or, one of those top quarterbacks. But I think a lot of that's because he had 11 years of poor play. 6 years of poor play is a lot easier to erase in people's minds. And I think if he gets to this game, especially if he plays well this weekend, he pretty much erases that and then becomes, like you said, a franchise quarterback and maybe elite in people's eyes.
I like that. I like that a lot. You know what was sneaky, just to add yours before I do mine? Kyle Shanahan was sounding the positive alarms about Sam Darnold.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
when he was talking about, like, hey, Steve Young took a while to come around?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I was like, hit our radar.
Right.
I'm putting Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte on the most to gain. Because the common narrative was, look, Drake May's good, Mike Vrabel's a good coach, but do they have enough weapons? And whether, Stephon made Drake better, Drake made Stephon better, it all has kind of worked. When Drake throws the ball to those two guys, he's completing 79% of his passes. He's got 12 touchdowns. And when we look at duos, this is just passer rating. Wow. Drake to Stephon and Kayshon is at about 125. It's better than Stafford and Puka and Devontae. Now, these aren't counting numbers. It's just passer rating. But this is one of I'm not going to say the best, but one of the better duos in the league. And they've just consistently flown under the radar. And this is not necessarily an unpopular take, but when you look at Drake's spectacular throws, a lot of them are because they're spectacular catches. That game could have gone very differently if Keyshawn doesn't make that catch, and if even Stephon's catch in traffic, that one's a field goal, one's just a drop, and nobody would fault anybody. Hey, good ball, didn't happen. A lot of Drake's success is due to those two guys.
I tried to make that point yesterday, and you're like, the Patriots blew them out and were in total control the whole game. Okay. So I absolutely agree with you.
Cinderella can't get to the ball without a pumpkin. Time to find out who has the most to lose.
Number 5, KW, on the most to lose list is Will Campbell.
That's fair.
What does it matter? Who cares? Oh, his arms aren't that long.
Hey.
Well, Nick Bonito, if you can't get your T-Rex arms on old Nick Bonito,
doesn't have T-Rex arms.
Well, I'm just saying, it's all relative. He's had a rough postseason. I think that's fair to say. You now have Nick Bonito or Jonathan Cooper coming around the edge, Zach Allen up the middle, so it's going to be hard for that guard to slide over to help you out. Why was Travion Henderson not playing early in the year? Because he couldn't block. I'm just telling you, if Drake Maye's getting clocked, might be because of the guy who did, when he was drafted, promise to, quote, fight and die for his quarterback.
I like that.
Will Campbell, number 5. Number 4, a trio, Brew. Josh, Lamar,
I love
Burrow.
this take. I love this take coming down I-95.
If Drake Maye makes the Super Bowl,
Good take.
first of all, Joe Burrow's whole thing is, I made a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like, I haven't been back to the playoffs much since then. I made a Super Bowl 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago when he made the Super Bowl, played Matt Stafford. Josh and Lamar, obviously, their coaches have now been fired because they hadn't made a Super Bowl.
Love it.
If Drake Maye makes it, it is just a tough spot for those guys, and for Burrow, what you hang your hat on, and for Josh and Lamar, what you have not yet been able to accomplish. Number 3, and Coach kind of alluded to this, Bill Belichick.
Oh.
So Tom Brady left you and went and won a Super Bowl immediately.
Good take.
You left the Patriots, and within 2 years, they're back in a Super Bowl? They could win a Super Bowl? Not great. Almost enough to, motivate the guy to call it Buffalo and be like, let me coach the Bills, please.
Interesting.
I told you guys. You guys thought I was lying. I got to keep you on your toes. No Michael Jordan. I'm not joking.
I know
Number 2, Lions fans. Matt Stafford leaves you, and all of a sudden people are like, is he one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever?
Tough one.
Goes to multiple Super Bowls, wins a league MVP. And Lions fans, even after Stafford won the Super Bowl 5 years ago, Lions fans were like, win-win. That trade, and by Lions fans, I mean, KW was one of these people like, no, that trade was great for both sides.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
That was-
Okay, well, yeah. We
at
can
that
say it was
time-
great for both
at
sides,
that time.
but if the guy you traded away ends up winning
another
2
one.
Super Bowls and you just missed the playoffs, and don't show this next one yet because
It's Michael Jordan.
I swear to you it's not Michael Jordan. It's going to feel mean, and I don't mean it to be. I sent out a very earnest tweet about this person Sunday night or Saturday, whenever it was. But the most to lose, number 1, is Bo Nix. Because if you can reveal it now. I know Bo Nix is rooting for his team and his teammates. But Bo Nix, whose approval rating when he walked off the field in that divisional round game was 100% in Denver, and the highest it had ever been outside of Denver. It becomes very weird if Jared Stidham wins the next 2 games. Carson Wentz was about to win league MVP.
Right.
And gets his leg broken.
never the same.
And then it just, the human condition is not equipped for that type of scenario. So
Yeah.
I'm not, this is just pure analysis. I actually feel badly about it. But I have to be honest.
I think that
Bo Nix is in a rough spot if Jared Stidham just goes on a 2-game winning streak right here. That's most to lose.
If he doesn't play well, and look, I mean, deep down inside, Nick's probably wants them to win without Jarrett playing well. Just being okay, right?
Playing great defense.
Right. And if they win that way, I don't think it's as bad.
Yeah,
but if
because
Stidham goes out there and
Foles
balls,
dealt in the Super Bowl.
yeah.
Can I just add one more thing about Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
If you see how the Patriots are really better than his last few years, and he had to go to North Carolina. And I'm North Carolina. I'm like, is this taking our whole kind of sports program down? And is this really hurting
Michael
Jordan's legacy?
Great point.
A little bit.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.